Welcome to Pacific Praise this morning. Today's guest is the extremely talented Dietrich Soakai. Look, Dietrich, thanks for joining us this morning. Tell us, what village are you associated with and where did you grow up?
Yep. Well, I'm a bit of a fruit salad. I'm hence the name Dietrich, which is Dietrich in German. But I'm not going to walk around saying that. I'm part German, Irish, and Scottish from my mum's side, and my mum hails out of Samoa, the wonderful area of Falealili, Baltasi. And my dad, he's Tongan, and we come from Ha'apai. I was born in Samoa. My dad was a university student, and hence why he was studying at the University of South Pacific, and he was studying horticulture, I believe. And that's what took him to Samoa. Met my mum, had me, and decided that he wanted to change his degree completely and start studying economics and business. So we shifted to New Zealand, and I think he initially started at Auckland. I think it was AIT, and then from there he got a scholarship to Massey University in Palmerston North. So then we stayed down there until he finished his masters in economics, and then moved back up to Auckland, and then found a job in Tonga. So then we relocated to Tonga. So it was pretty much, just following my family. Although there were, I think, a couple of years where I ended up staying, in Tonga. My family moved back to New Zealand a year before me, and I stayed in Tonga for an extra year. And the same in Palmerston North. My family moved from Palmerston North back to Auckland, and so I've kind of, it was kind of interesting that the way things had panned out. I've been to something like 16 different schools, shifted 24 different times. Just following my family and learning the art of making friends really quickly.
What kind of impact did that have, being so mobile?
It's really shaped me to be the person that I am today. I mean, in the sense that I can relate to just about anyone. I've been exposed to so many different cultures and different settings that I feel like I can kind of just slot in quite easily. I've never found it too difficult as a Polynesian person to relate to different cultures, simply because of my transient kind of nomadic sort of lifestyle. It's kind of helped me to become quite a good listener and a good person to be able to try and connect with people and connect with their story and connect with where they're coming from, just simply with the intention of trying to build relationship and make a place home quickly.
And of course, you arrived here in New Zealand. And tell us about what has kept you here, and was that part of your journey to knowing God as your personal Lord and Saviour?
I was raised in a Christian family. My mum found Christ when I was 2 years old. I mean, she was raised in a Catholic family, and absolutely there's a sense of God. There's always been a sense of God, my mum feels, growing up. But for her, the definitive moment of choosing to follow Christ, making a really intentional decision to follow Christ, happened when I was 2 years old. She was living in Tonga, and she just felt really homesick. She just wanted to speak Samoan to somebody, anybody. And she heard of this guy who was part of a missionary team, who they were part of YWAM, Youth with a Mission. And so she was just homesick and just wanted to speak Samoan to someone. So, and then she bumped into these people, and then she really got to hear the gospel afresh for herself in a time of real need. And then she decided to follow Christ. And that decision has, had a ripple effect and has affected my life massively. So from that point, I've always felt a sense of God from a really young age. Like I remember trying to convert all my primary school friends at the age of like 8 and 9, and dragging them to Youth for Christ meetings, and and all of this sort of jazz, and going on like church camps and all of this sort of thing. So Christianity or knowing God has always been a part of my life as far back as I can remember. But with that said as well, like I fell away from God. At the age of sort of 12, I was walking away from God. I mean, this is going to sound whack, but at 12 years old, I started wanting to get into like drinking and drugs and stuff like that. And my family, when I was 12, my family moved to Tonga, and then I ended up shifting down to Palmerston North. I ended up staying with one of my friends whose family were atheists, and in hindsight, I think we're quite liberal. So by the time I was 13, they were giving me beers and going to parties and stuff. And I don't say this in any disrespectful way to them. I think they were just trying to do the best that they could with what they knew and understood, and how they understood the world. I think they were trying to teach us how to be responsible drinkers and all this sort of thing. But in my opinion, giving 13-year-olds alcohol and just dropping them off at a party, I don't think that's very responsible, in my humble opinion. The godsend was having to go back to Tonga to reunite with my family after that year. And boy, oh boy, was I so messed up. Even at the age of 13, I had ambitions of, wanting to get into gangs and stuff. And back down in Palmy, the main gangs were just Black Power, really, from memory. Going to Tonga was my saving grace, because the only people who really knew how to hold an English conversation, in my world anyway, were Facilitator, were preachers, were Christians. And there was a particular man by the name of Sione Kolomatangi. At the time, he was this deported convict from America, Los Angeles. And he was part of a notorious gang called the Crips. And he was in his maybe mid-30s, close to late 30s. And he was the real deal, man. He had tattoos of his gang and stuff. They had taken photos of people that they, with guns, and people that they were about to kill, like sort of just some really hardcore sort of thing. But I came to meet him and know him just as he was coming to know who God was. So having this man, this huge, tall, muscular, like gangster, humble himself before God and really want to know who Jesus is, and seeing that and being a part of that journey really helped me to realize, like, hold up, man, I'm looking in the wrong direction to satisfy this longing. I'm doing all the wrong things, and I heard it straight from him. I heard of how he'd been dealing drugs and doing all this sort of stuff in the States, and now he's deported in Tonga, and now he's really coming to know who God was. So that was one of the key sort of moments for me, the turnaround moment, and that was where I started to get really like passionate again about God. Now, what's really sad and quite true to human nature, after my time in Tonga had finished, moved back to New Zealand for sixth form, or what's that, year 12, and pretty much after 2 months of being back into New Zealand, straight back into like drinking and smoking weed and being an absolute idiot. I fell away from God as a teenager, So I started, looking into the possibility of other religions. One of them was Satanism. I think it was just because, I don't know, I was just searching. So I got given like the Satanic Bible, and one of the key ideas there was that pretty much that the Christian God is an oppressor, and that you should be free to do whatever you want, whenever you want, wherever you want, to whomever you want. Just to pretty much be a God unto yourself, really. That was one of the main sort of things that I got out of it. Then there was Islam as well. And I kind of looked into it a bit. I even had like the English version of the Quran for a little bit. I looked into like different types of meditation, like transcendental. I don't even think I pronounced that right. Meditation. Just random spiritualism type stuff. Like it was fascinating. Like to keep it real with you, but yeah, it just didn't feel like home, if that makes sense. It just didn't feel like home. I didn't feel like I belonged in any of that. In fact, I felt like I was so far from what I had known to be home. Do you get what I mean? Like when you feel home, you just feel relaxed. You feel like, wow, this is I can be me right now. I'm accepted for who I am. I'm loved for who I am. I can just be. Like that's what Jesus was or is to me. And looking into all that other stuff, as fascinating and interesting as it was, none of it felt like home. None of it like really connected with me. So yeah, that was kind of
awesome.
That was kind of that.